What is going on, guys? David Productions 345 here. It's a new angle, but we're going to be doing a drive along video while I do a little Q&A for the cluster stuff. So I keep seeing comments about some of the things that I have written down on my clipboard, so we're going to be doing a drive along while I answer some questions. So guys, also don't mind these goofy glasses that I wear. They just help me see better because it covers my real glasses, so it helps with the sun. So if you guys hadn't seen my first two parts of the cluster swap videos, I'll leave them in the cards up above right now. Just make sure to watch those two because I go over everything that I'm going to be kind of talking about in this video, but there's some new stuff that I haven't really mentioned. So without further ado, guys, let's get right into it. So the first question is, do you need a new bezel to do the cluster swap? So the answer is yes, for it to be easier, I guess, but I've seen some people who modified their 2011 to 14 bezels to work, but I feel it's easier to just do the new bezel because like you're already going to be swapping it anyways. I mean, the only reason you'd want to keep the old one is because of the screw holes, because some people don't know how to use zip ties, I guess. But for the most part, it would be better to just do the new bezel instead of the 11 to 14 one. I mean, I get it though, some people don't want to do like the finicky stuff with the zip ties, but still, like, it's just better to use the new bezel. So that's the first question, is do you need the new bezel? So guys, we're on the road to 1,000 subscribers, so make sure you like, subscribe, and share with your friends. Also, don't be afraid to comment some questions on this video as well. I want to do another Q&A. Also, let me know if you guys like this angle or not. So the next question is, where do you get your cluster from, and where should I buy mine? So there's a couple different answers to that one. I got mine in a Facebook forum, the 11 to 14 Chargers forum. There's somebody in there who sells them, so that's where I got mine from. In terms of, let me go right. So there's a couple different places to get your cluster from. You can get it on eBay, which is a pretty good deal. Just make sure to not overpay for them. It also depends on which cluster you want too, because there's a ton of different ones. I'll explain it in another question in a little bit of which one exactly to get, like what years. But eBay is a good place to buy them from, Marketplace even. So just look around for them. Even a junkyard. Junkyard's probably the best bet. If you can find a car that doesn't have a broken cluster and it still works, that's probably your cheapest bet. The next question is, what year cluster should I get, and will it work on my 11, 12, 13, or 14? So my answer is, get a 15 to 17 cluster. And the reason for that is because the 18 plus clusters have a lot of issues with like random things like the gas gauge not working or some tachometer not working or whatever. So make sure to get a 15 to 17 cluster. And then in terms of what years they'll work on, they will work on any 11 to 14. Just some of the features from the 11s will not work properly because they don't have some of the features that you were desiring. So the next question is, does the mileage update automatically, or do I have to manually update it? So I went over this in my second video about alpha OBD, but that's how you update your mileage. It doesn't automatically update, you have to manually change your mileage. So I'm going to insert the clip from that video right now just because it's easier than me trying to do this while I'm talking, obviously. So let me insert that clip right here. Guys, I'm going to be jumping in real quick and filming a how-to on how to correct the miles. So let's open up the app. You guys can see OBD link for the OBD MX Plus, but alpha OBD. Alright, so what you're going to want to do is hit the Bluetooth right here. And obviously, OBD MX Plus right there. You click that and connect. And then it would say connected. And then now you down here, you select Dodge Ram. And then you Dodge Charger LD. And then for this, you want to connect to the instrument panel. And then, obviously, since it's a new cluster, you want to click the 2015 Plus. And then all you do next is just click connect. And then after that, you click over again. And you click over one more time. And now, right here, you get to the screen. It's a little car icon with the hood open. Select procedure, scroll down. Just be careful, guys. Don't really play around with this too much. Just because if you press a couple settings wrong, you could brick your car. So just make sure to click the right things. Odometer correction. And then right here, you type in the miles, like you just type in a number. Obviously the keyboard. And also after that, you just click start. So what happened with me is I had to click start a couple times for it to work because it wouldn't work before. And then you just reset the car by just turning it off. Mine actually worked within like a minute or two it updated. And obviously some people have said that you have to put it in kilometers, but I just did miles and it was perfect. So type in the miles that you have on your car, click start a couple times, and you should be good. So anyways, guys, just make sure to not be pressing random buttons in here, because this is definitely not something to play with. So guys, the next question I'm going to answer is, how do I get the park sense message to get off my screen? So what I personally did, guys, was I unplugged my battery because I was doing my blender actuators at the time, and the message kind of just went away by itself, like after a couple cycles. So I don't really have an exact answer, but that's what I did and it worked. So I'm just going to say, unplug your battery, let it sit for about half an hour, 45 minutes, and then plug it back in, do a couple of drive cycles, and then it should reset itself. So, alright guys, the next question is, will the 15 plus steering wheel work on my 11 to 14 with the cluster swap? My simple answer is no, but if you want to do a lot of rewiring, you can do it and it'll work, but I'm just going to say it like how it is. I wouldn't do it just because it's a lot of wiring involved, and you're better off if you just want the new steering wheel is to either just get a new vehicle like a 15 and up, or do a full swap if you want to do like a 5.7 swap, a 6.4 swap, or a Hellcat swap. So just the steering wheel will not work, the buttons will not work, just because my airbag light's wanting to be annoying now. The buttons will not work just because it's not programmed for it, and you'll have to do a lot of rewiring. So I just would not recommend it. It's not worth it. So guys, the next question is, how do I secure my screen to the new bezel? But what I did was I secured it with zip ties, tape, and I also drilled holes. So it's very easy to do. I'll include some pictures on the screen right now of how I did it, or some other pictures from other people, but that's the easiest way to do it. So make sure to just use zip ties, take your time, and it's not really that hard. The next question, guys, is the Tazer necessary to do the cluster swap, or can I get away without it? So to answer that question is, you need the Tazer, or else the cluster swap will not work properly. You'll have errors and you won't be able to navigate through any of the menus. So definitely the Tazer is definitely necessary. So also, it's not really that expensive, guys. It's like $250, and I bet you around Black Friday coming up, there will be deals. So definitely get the Tazer for the cluster swap. You cannot go without it. Next question, guys, is, does this work with all-wheel drive, or will there be a problem with the system? It does work with all-wheel drive. The system will automatically detect that you have an all-wheel drive system, and there will just be an option in the screen to just show all-wheel drive or rear-wheel drive. And as I mentioned before, you can kind of toggle between the two by pressing the traction off button. So make sure to do that if you want to switch between all-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive. But definitely don't worry about that, because it'll automatically work. Next question is the swap hard to do, or is it easy to do? For me personally, it was pretty easy to do. Just the fact that it took a little bit of time, just because I had to like make sure my screen wasn't falling down on the bezel with a zip tie. So it was pretty easy to do. It took me about an hour to do, I think, with everything, an hour to an hour and a half, but it's not that hard to do at all. Next question, guys, is what worked in the cluster and what doesn't work? So this one is probably one of the main questions that people ask. And to answer the question, about 80% of everything works. But the thing is, some features will not work for the 11s just because they don't have some of the programming that the newer cars had. So me personally, I have a 13, so I'm going to tell you guys what works in my car and what doesn't. So the intake air temperature feature in the new cluster does not work. And I don't really care about that because I have that in my SRT pages on my screen. Also, what doesn't work is the sport mode button. So when you press sport, it will not show up on the cluster, which is alright. I don't really care. I know one of my cars in sport because I can tell by the shift points and shifting firmness. So I'm not too worried about that. Also, when you're shifting in manual mode, it will not show what gear you're in. So you kind of have to guess. Or if you have the option in your pages to like look at what gear you're in, then that's fine as well. I don't have that feature for some reason because it doesn't show my gear, it just shows 2 lines. So that's kind of unfortunate, but whatever. And then the final thing that doesn't work on the screen is the oil life. So that just makes sense because that's a new feature for the 15 and up cars. So I'm not too worried about that. But for some people it does show up, but for me it does not work. So whatever, I guess. I don't really care too much about that. Anyways, guys, that is the end of this Q&A cluster swap video. I like making these cluster videos because a lot of people like them, and I like having informational videos so you guys don't have to look at too many videos on how to do certain swaps. Anyways, guys, we are on the road to 1,000 subscribers, so make sure you hit that like button, make sure you subscribe, make sure you share the video with your friends, hit that notification bell, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out, guys.